What is a thing that's perceived as normal that just makes you mad? Story 1. Another thing perceived as normal but can be infuriating is the expectation of constant availability due to smartphones. The assumption that you should immediately respond to texts, emails, or calls can be very frustrating, as it disrupts personal time and creates pressure to always be on. Story 2. If an employee steals $50 from the register, they get arrested, have to pay it back, pay fines, go to jail, have a record, and of course they are fired. If a company steals $50,000 from employees, they might get fined. None of the money goes to those employees. No one gets arrested, no jail, no record, and they stay in business. Story 3. Using mental health as an excuse for everything, including truly shitty, selfish behavior. A guy posted on an advice sub about how he just got married, but his wife decided to go to Europe alone for their honeymoon. She'd always wanted to travel alone, but she never found the time. So she decided to do it instead of their honeymoon, because she needed it for her mental health. She did this even though it really upset the guy. He was so depressed, his sister had to comfort him. Then his wife returned, on his birthday, and was disappointed OP was out with his sister, instead of waiting at home. Now she's upset because she wanted to spend his birthday with him. OP wanted to know if he's the asshole for not spending his birthday with his wife. When he received a flood of, "Where's your self-respect?" remarks he edited to ask why people were focusing on his wife traveling alone, when his question wasn't about whether his wife was the AH, it was about whether he was, because his wife is sad she missed his birthday, and now he feels guilty. Story 4. Tipping culture. It's become predatory and is no longer an optional reward for good service. Now it's either automatically added as a fee or you get harassed into paying it no matter how minimal or poor the service was. One time, my friend even had a waitress write herself a tip as he was putting his card away. Story 5. Screaming at your kids. Don't get me wrong, being stern with children is sometimes necessary, but straight-up screaming and yelling at kids will more likely make the kids afraid of their parents instead of respect them. In order for kids to actually be prepared for the world, they need to learn to accept feedback out of respect, because being afraid of people being angry with you only holds you back. Story 6. Piggybacking off of the comment about posting children crying or being disciplined. The family vlogging lifestyle that showcases every aspect of their lives with their kids/relationships. I don't mean helpful accounts that give parents insight or advice, just the ones who share every second of their life with their children relationships. Good or bad. Sure, film and share your Disney World experience, but to showcase every single second of your developing children's lives on the internet feels dangerous and weird. It would bring me, personally, anxiety to have a bunch of strangers invested in my romantic relationship as well. Story 7. The perception that most people working to generate profit for some other person is the normal and natural way of doing things. Taxes have pretty much always been with us, so long as governments of any kind have existed and provided goods or services of any kind. Law, defense, welfare, anything. But that was basically it for a long, long time. For most of recorded history, and certainly the vast majority of human existence even before the invention of writing, the norm was you worked, and the products of your labor were your own or shared among your co-workers. The idea that some owner, group of owners, or stockholders should pay you agreed upon wages or commissions based on productivity and take anything and everything in excess of that and operating costs for themselves has only been a thing for a few hundred years. For context, humanity as a species has been around for about 100,000 years, and recorded history goes back more than 5,000. Working for someone else is the exception, not the norm. Story 8. The insurance racket. You pay into it your entire life and have to jump through hoops over which medications they'll cover, which doctor is in their network, etc. Yet when you do use it, you have to pay again, deductible, and quite often they'll still try to get you to cover it out of your own pocket. Yes, I know there are situations where having insurance is a good thing, but most of the time they're just collecting free money from you. Story 9. Elaborate bachelorette parties. Also just all the pre-event events that people are expected to attend. Two people decide to get married, so now, if I'm close to the couple, I'm expected to go to an engagement party, a bachelorette party, a bridal party, a rehearsal, a ceremony, and a reception. Why is it normal for guests to go into debt because two people want to get hitched? Story 10. Kissing babies on the lips. There's so many other places on their face to kiss them. The lips just seem so unsanitary to me and could lead to transfer of illnesses. Why risk it? I read about someone whose mom kissed him on the lips until he was 14. Just seems so strange to be kissing a teen on the lips to show affection to them, even if they are your child, but to each their own, I guess. Story 11. One time I had a flat tire in a parking lot and was with a friend. He took out his phone and started filming it to post on TikTok or Snapchat or whatever. Why is that the first thing people do nowadays in a time of need is pull out their phone? What content can you get from posting a flat? It irritated me. I'm 33 and never used those apps, and not everything has to be documented online. Story 12. Bringing dogs everywhere. Dog culture is out of control. They don't belong in grocery stores, restaurants, or really most places outside a dog park or your home. Not everyone likes dogs, and some people are allergic or afraid of them. Too many people let them off leash or have aggressive breeds that they can't control. They let them do whatever they want and then get mad if anything is said to them. BC, the dog is family. Really, though, they just use the dog as an extension of themselves. Story 13. Telling young girls that when a boy bullies them, it means they like them. No, it doesn't. It means they like making people they believe as less than them in the social hierarchy feel terrible because they're insecure about their place with the social hierarchy. And also, that's only setting up those young girls who mind you won't stay young girls forever for failure and unnecessary heartbreak. All you're telling them is that they abused you because they love you. It's wrong, and we just need to stop saying that. Story 14. People who work customer service being forced to be polite to people who are talking to them like they're a piece of shit. I can't imagine businesses would lose too much money if it became commonplace for people working minimum wage customer service jobs to speak to the customer the same way they're being spoken to. That mentality has led to an entire generation of Karens. Story 15. The constant glorification of busyness and overworking in our society. It's seen as a badge of honor to never stop, to always be on the go, to sacrifice sleep and self-care in the name of productivity. It's a toxic mindset that devalues our mental and physical well-being, and it makes me furious to see so many people falling into this trap. Let's prioritize balance and self-care instead of burnout and exhaustion. Story 16. Fathers not getting paternity leave in the U.S. My wife and I just had our first child in February. I was absolutely pissed to find out my privately owned healthcare company offers not a single hour of paid time off for fathers. Since my wife ended up having a C-section due to our child being breech, she needed a ton of help for the first 2 weeks. This means I burned through all my sick and PTO time. I literally have nothing left for an entire year. I knew this was common in the US, but I figured someone making 6 figures in a management position pivotal to the program's success would get something. Nope, not a goddamn minute. Literally every full-time worker, regardless if they make minimum wage or $1M a year, deserves to have some paid time away with their child when they're born. And wealthy, disconnected politicians wonder why birth rates are dropping. Can't wait until we get to start looking for childcare here shortly. Story 17. People with no spatial awareness. Once I had to take a detour in a shopping mall because there was, and I kid you not, 5 women with stroller walking side by side taking up literally the entire hall. And not only that, there are so many people who go into store and just stop right at the entrance right in the middle so you can pass. I don't think I have good spatial awareness because I constantly have to remind myself that I might be in the way, but at least I notice him in the way. Story 18. People that hit their pets, especially cats. I've been pissed at my cats for clawing the shit out of me, but the most I will do is hold them still and let them go once they calm down. We're so much bigger, more powerful, and smarter than our pets. We should be able to control our responses instead of taking out our anger physically on a smaller being. They may learn not to attack again, but they don't know why, and they'll just start to fear you. Story 19. Insurance and tipping. Insurance. Why are we paying lawyers? When is the last time you benefited from all the money you paid in insurance? Shouldn't the government just function and help people who when they need it? Buying insurance just never seems to make sense to me. Insurance fills too many gaps in accountability at an outrageous cost to the average person. Tipping. How about you just do your job? How about your boss pays a living wage? I understand how tipping aligns the incentives in all the right ways, but my $1.20 meal should be $1.20 plus tax. Not $1.20 plus $4 for tip plus tax. The tipping seems endless and just encourages people to always have their hands out instead of simply working efficiently and being professional. Story 20. Putting the parents first in custody of children. It really annoys me when someone who has been abusive to their child is allowed to take classes and then get custody of their child again. I think that putting an emphasis on keeping families together at the expense of the children is selfish. If someone has abused their child to the point where they're taking away, they should not get that child even if they manage to take classes and turn it around. Story 21. Little kids drinking pop or other sugary drinks. A 2-year-old shouldn't be drinking Mountain Dew. Your kid playing Little League who is barely moving doesn't need a Gatorade. Kids on phones, tablets, computers, or in front of the TV all day. Watching shows or playing video games all fucking day isn't normal. Go play. No screen time and being bored is a necessary thing in life. People refuse to be bored anymore. I wonder how much creativity is being lost because so many kids are growing up with their brains melted from screens. Not being rude to people who are being rude to us. You don't have to start it, but with TikTok and other types of influencers everywhere, we should be allowed to tell them to get the fuck out of our area. Influencers who hurt or humiliate kids or homeless or people otherwise not all with it should have severe consequences for their actions, even if no one gets hurt. It isn't funny to humiliate other people. Pranks aren't funny. Story 22. Mortgage companies that make you pay all the interest up front before they count the money you actually borrowed. Banks that only give you good rates if you bring new money, not any in your current account. Property tax based on the value of your house, when the services you receive are the exact same as your neighbors, whether their house is worth a lot more or a lot less. Land is land. If you want a bigger house, you should pay the bank for it, not your city. And finally, insurance companies that raise your rates every 6 months when you've never had a claim, but drop you the second you do. Story 23. Not sure if it's perceived as normal, but it makes me extremely mad that people who bullied me or others in school grew up to be nurses and cops. I don't know what I want done about it, but I feel like some sort of personality empathy test should be conducted to rule out people who get off on power over others and abuse people. These are people who haven't changed much since school. I read their social media posts, and they are just as cruel and terrible of people as they were decades ago. They are emboldened enough to spout pure hatred about random things and people, yet are allowed to hold a role that should be meant for caring and protective people, at least in my mind. Story 24. I have a friend who can say these incredibly cryptic things that inject steroids into your heart, in a metaphorical manner. So you have an immense responsibility in how you handle the statements and questions, how you interpret them, and what answers you want to give. If you answer wrong, you become mad, and possibly very angry. If not else, you often at least become incredibly selfish and inconsiderate, and very convinced that what you are doing is right. If you answer right, it's like the gates of heaven open, peace of mind and all that, and then you also get convinced that what you are doing is right. After listening to him for a while, it can be pretty fun to talk the same way to others and watch the shenanigans unfold around you. Story 25. Nutrition obsession. Yeah, eating healthy food is good, but I was actually shocked when I first heard the term orthorexia, looked it up, and realized it's actually a disorder. I swear so many of my school classmates, from grade school to grad school, were constantly asking how many calories are in any food they didn't make, beating up on themselves for eating an ounce of sugar, starving themselves or doing fad diets, and panicking over the latest discovery that something is suddenly unhealthy. I fully assumed it was normal behavior, and I was just lazy and weak for not doing that. Turns out that is not the case. Story 26. E-scooters not parked parallel with a wall, street edge, and/or far from the wall edge. It doesn't matter if the street is wide enough, you're still taking away space which pedestrians, other riders, could use. Is it really that hard to nudge the scooter's backside a bit after finishing your ride, so it should be against the wall? And don't get me started on those assholes who park flat out in the middle of the street. Again, even if there's plenty of room on either side, you're still an asshole if you park in the middle of the street. Story 27. Background. In the U.S., people walk similar to how they drive, on the right side of the walkway/sidewalk/aisle/whatever. The exception is, if you're walking on a road, you walk against traffic, on the left side. I'm in Spain for the last 20 days and there is no system for walking here and it's driving me insane. People walk on the left, middle, right, 3 people side by side. It's driving me insane. Just walking down the sidewalk is like playing chicken with everyone you encounter. Who's going to move out of the other person's way? Who fucking knows? It's decided at the last second, LOL. Story 28. I hate so much how much women have disgraced our own gender. Men are afraid to be any less than 6'5" tall. Men aren't allowed to be balding. Men aren't allowed to live at home with parents. Men are expected to pay for everything. Men are supposed to be physically strong. Men must be the breadwinners and men are supposed to be romantic. spontaneous, but at the same time not allowed to express any negative emotions. Meanwhile, we women get to be as fat as we like, and we call it plus size or chubby. We call it something cute and get offended if men don't accept us for being unhealthy. We get to be as short or as tall as we like, but men must always be taller than us. We're allowed to be strong, independent women, but we still want our dates paid for. We expect compliments, but when was the last time we told a guy how awesome their shirt is? How cute the look in a jumper? Did you know men like to be little spoons too in snuggles? Most men I hook up with are my little spoons. Did you know men love getting their hair brushed with our fingers? Or blush when you look up to them during an intimate moment and tell them how gorgeous they are? Did you know men get really excited when they get a chance to talk about their interests? I absolutely hate the double standards women have put in men and call it empowering or equality. Yes, women were treated like crap for the longest time, but that doesn't mean a mother's innocent boy should grow up and be treated like dirt because of what people he will never meet have done to more people he hasn't met over 50 years ago. I have met so many men who are virgins because they were too short, because they weren't higher than an 8/10. I have met broken men with next to no confidence and are so fragile from verbal, emotional, mental abuse women have given them because they were trying to be funny, cool, cute, or whatever. Women treating men like crap and breaking them shouldn't be normal. It should be seen as bad as when a man does it too. It should be equal. Story 29. Car horns. It's 2024, and for some reason all our cars come equipped with a button whose sole function is to infuriatingly inform everybody in a 200 m radius that you are currently upset. Fuck that. Yes, I know they exist for a different purpose. I think I see somebody using it for that purpose once, maybe twice a year.